Hello and welcome to Watch More Football. We are on the last episode of the season, and we're coming to you on the Genreverse Sports YouTube channel. You can also check out our sister channel, Genreverse, on YouTube, and we are part of the wider LRM Online organisation who deal in lots of written entertainment and media news, written in a lot of part by one of our own, Cam Clark. He's a bit under the weather today because he's seen the England squad and he's realised that it's just football's coming home, so there's no point in carrying on, which is why I'm taking over today. But we are going to dissect the end of the season, look ahead to the FA Cup and playoff finals, and talk about a couple of sort of breaking news stories that have happened today, I guess. But first things first would be to see how our wives got on with the predictions this weekend. So Kyle, if you want to bring those up. So we got, in terms of the scores, just for the predictions, as we said last week, we were doing our normal 1 point for getting the correct result, but we, as a bit of added jeopardy, included 3 points for the correct score line. So I believe my wife predicted that Palace were going to beat Villa 5-4. Sadly, I was only 4 goals away from a 3-pointer on that one. So we had predictably, I got 9 points. Dave got 14. Cam got 15, and Mick also got 15. Now I'm going to hold off telling you how that affects the final table because we've got a few more points to add on at the end. But
fair play to our wives. Our wives pretty much represent ourselves, don't they?
Yeah. Well done, Kelly.
Yeah, well done.
But yeah,
yeah.
Go on, Cam.
Nah, sorry.
Cool. So yeah, what were you guys' thoughts on the final day of the season then? Pretty much as expected.
It went exactly, apart from the Crystal Palace game, it went pretty much exactly as people expected.
Yeah.
So pretty boring.
Yeah. There was a brief 15-minute period where West Ham had pulled a goal back and Arsenal had equalised against Everton and something might have happened, but then Rodri just decided he was going to pass one into the net like he always does in those instances. That was it.
Yeah. The fact that City scored within 2 minutes just you were just like, it's decided then. There's not even going to be any last-minute drama.
And then we had a bit of a...
West Ham's chance was to hold them off till and make them nervous till the 80th minute or something like that. So as soon as that goal went in, you're like, nah.
Yeah. And it was
the West Ham fans cheered with them.
I don't get that. I really don't. Surely they'd want to see Declan Rice lift a Premier League title.
I don't know. No, I don't think we love him that much.
Local rival. I mean, not in the same way Tottenham are, but still don't like Arsenal, do they?
And we had a bit of a European race as well, but nothing happened there because all 4 of the teams involved won. So yeah, that was a bit.
I mean, it could have changed, but
yeah. There was a brief moment where we went ahead against Brighton and Brentford had pulled it back to 3-2 against Newcastle.
Yeah, we tried our hardest to throw it away.
Yeah, we did as well, in fairness, but we always do.
And Luton couldn't pull off their 20-goal swing that they needed over Forest. They lost to Fulham, and Forest beat Burnley anyway, didn't they? So
yeah, they won anyway. Yeah.
So that's all 3 promoted teams down, and the 2 teams with points deductions ended up quite comfortably staying up. So
and that is only the second time in Premier League history that all 3 promoted teams went straight back down.
Yeah, which is unusual, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, it's quite surprising.
So, do we think then
is that an indication though that the gap's just getting bigger though? Or
I don't know, because it wasn't that long ago that all 3 stayed up. To be honest,
exactly. Exactly.
I just think we had Burnley obviously bossed the league in the Championship last season, and really they did a lot worse than a lot of people were expecting. But Sheffield United and Luton were both quite long shots for going up, and neither team was really ready. But even then, Luton had plenty of opportunities to rescue themselves, as we were saying last week.
It did, yeah. But didn't they only get like 1 point in the last?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, their form.
However many games.
Yeah, their form for the last couple of months was awful. Even after they started having players come back. They had Adebayo come back and he started scoring a few goals, but they were letting them in as well.
The only way I could see it happening next season is if Leicester get this points deduction. That might happen. If they do, then I think the three will go back down again next season.
Yeah,
that'd be rough for them if they get points deduction and have to stay up.
I think Ipswich will struggle because obviously they're still at their core a League One side, aren't they? Because they've gone back to back.
And they might lose a manager.
Yeah, the two playoff final teams I think are quite strong. Leeds and Southampton. They've still got a lot of the core players that they had in the Premier League, obviously, that they went down with, but they've still, they've got that bit of know-how.
I think Leeds will be better than Southampton in the Premier League. I think Leeds have got a few better players there. Like Somerville, he looks a quality player.
Yeah, but is he going to stay there?
Yeah, if they can keep hold of him.
But Willie Gnonto as well.
An established Premier League team goes for them and they're going to offer the money. He's going to want to go rather than be in a relegation fight. It's kind of like, I've made it around my Premier League.
You think if Liverpool get rid of Salah, he's sort of ready made to go in there for them, isn't he?
Yes, Somerville's more the left-sided.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah.
He was a right winger when I got him on my career mode a few years ago.
Because I've seen a few Newcastle fans saying they would have loved to, because we need a right winger. I've seen a few saying that they would like Gnonto from Leeds.
Yeah,
I like him. When Leeds were in the Premier League the year before last, he gave us a really bad time in our 2 games against them. He's a good sort of quick, direct winger, isn't he?
I'm not sure he's quite at that level yet, though. But I mean, sometimes you've just got to take a punt on these people, though.
Yeah. I mean, Gordon wasn't at that level when you signed him from Everton, and look at him now.
Yeah.
I think. I think the promoted side should do a bit better next season because I think Forest and Everton are still going to really struggle. They're still going to be playing catch up.
I think Everton will be fine. I think Everton will be fine.
Well, I mean, they're either going to get sold to the worst owners in football or go through administration.
Well, true. Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah.
They were hoping they were going to go into administration this season.
They're in a big hole still. But I think that squad that they've got, if they don't lose many, like if they sell one player and that's enough to bring in a couple, then that's I think that would be enough to still stay up.
To keep them out of administration, they're going to have to sell someone massive.
And at some point as well, they're going to have to buy a cryogenic chamber to keep Dominic Calvert-Lewin in between matches, and that is not cheap either.
I don't think he's ever going to be a player that's going to play 30 games this season.
No.
So do we think out of the relegated sides, then, do we think any of the players there are going to get snapped up? Are there anyone screaming out to you that could do a job?
Ross Barkley
back in the Premier League. To Villa, supposedly. Yeah, Villa are almost they're linked with him. Ross Barkley.
See, I think that would be the sort of signing that Everton should look to make as well.
Bringing them back
from there. I reckon they could get him fairly cheap.
I think he walks into that team.
Yeah,
especially if they maybe lose Onana as well, which is rumoured. So.
I think Ben Brereton is going to do a decent job for a mid-table club as a striker. He's been good since he
knows where the net is.
He did well in the Championship, and people weren't sure whether to take the risk on him, but he's proved he can kind of score goals in the Premier League, and could see somebody pick him up Ryan for sure.
Yeah. But apart from that, I don't think. Yeah, I don't know. I've been impressed with Dara O'Shea at Burnley a little bit. He's got something about him, sort of leadership wise, at centre back. But
it's not just the name O'Shea that you like.
Maybe next time they come back up,
I don't know if maybe he's a bit old for a team to take a punt on for how much Burnley would want for him though, because he's he's not old, but he's in his mid-20s, I think. So.
Yeah.
Look at Jamie Vardy.
True. That's a special case, though. I think.
Ian Wright.
Before my time, but yeah.
I guess he was younger, but mostly Palace's, Warburton. Is that his name? That's not his name.
Horton.
Yeah, he came this season, didn't he?
Yeah, he's only young.
January.
Is he?
He's only young as well. He's only sort of 20 odd, isn't it?
Because I've just seen on Twitter that because Newcastle apparently were looking at him in January before he went to Palace, and there was only one person in our recruitment team who didn't fancy him, so we didn't go for him. So one person out there.
Was it Eddie Howe's brother or whatever, whoever it is?
No, because I think it was Steve Nixon, because they were saying that it's somebody who's got a high reputation, and he's the only one with any kind of reputation in our recruitment team now.
And he has got a good reputation as well, but sometimes people get it wrong.
What's interesting, given sort of PSR and how the window's going to look over the summer, is that obviously Palace picked up Wharton from Blackburn. Villa picked up Morgan Rogers from Middlesbrough for quite cheap, and he's been really good as well. So I don't know if maybe clubs are going to start looking towards the Championship to take a bit more of a punt on those sorts of players.
Newcastle are supposed to be going for the guy at Crystal Palace now, aren't they? Is it Dougie Friedman that's at Crystal Palace at the moment?
Yeah.
And his expertise is pulling players for the lower leagues. You know, when you look at Essie, Elisa, Horton.
I've seen that apparently.
Others, and he's the favourite currently, to take over the sort of sporting director role at us. Yeah. So
I've seen that apparently we're going to go for Chris Rigg from Sunderland. He's only 16. He looks
I've seen
really
United
good player.
I've seen United into him as well.
Apparently he's a Newcastle season ticket holder as well.
But he went through Sunderland's academy.
Yeah.
Well, I remember that we had such a bad time that Sunderland actually had a better academy than Newcastle. I don't think that'll be the case going forward.
I mean, to be fair, Cole Palmer's a Man United fan and he went through the City Academy. So
yeah, exactly.
But that there was a big trend of even like ex-United players were sending their kids to City. Like Darren Fletcher sent his lads, and we've sort of poached them back now, and it's starting to swing a bit more towards United. But
Ryan Giggs actually started off at Man City.
He did, yeah. I mean, Ryan Giggs started off playing rugby league, but
did he?
Yeah,
he was a good hooker.
I thought that was Wayne Rooney.
Right. So yeah. So
anyway,
in terms of Europe, then, because I know we said nothing really happened because everyone won, but it is still slightly up in the air because United are in the cup final. So at the moment, it's Chelsea are in the Europa League, Newcastle are in the Conference League.
Yes,
and United don't have anything.
Talk that you might pull it or something like that, Dave. Did you not say?
We're currently in the Conference League spot, but if City win it, we get Europa.
No, you're not.
You're not. You're in the Europa spot.
Yeah,
unless Man United.
Oh, is there only one?
You're currently in the Europa League spot.
Oh, big say get the
spot. So if by some miracle United win the cup on Saturday,
we get conference.
Then Chelsea get conference, Newcastle get punted out of Europe altogether, and United get to go to Karabakh in December. So, fingers crossed.
There is suggestions that Chelsea are going to pull out of the Conference League if we do get it because we don't comply with their financial fair play rules. So we'll be.
So what's the difference between Europa League and Conference League? Yeah.
I guess we just get a bit more money for Europa.
Is it not?
So it's
is it not? It's not like
It's
not like the Conference League have got financial fair play rules. It's UEFA's own financial fair play rules, and getting more money for the Europa League just about
exactly.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of Chelsea fans would prefer a punt at the Conference League just to get that trophy and then have.
It's the only one you don't have.
Yeah. Nobody else has got all
and
all the European trophies.
So. Those players need to win something as well, don't they? They need to.
Yeah, I mean,
they should have experienced that in the League Cup final, but
Yeah, that's not very
does anyone think that there is any chance at all that we're going to be having this conversation next week when United smash City in the cup final?
Probably not. I think any of us would be a fool.
Did anyone say that Tumbleweed?
I am putting money. I'm putting like just a tenner or something like that. I'm putting a tenner on Man United to win the cup, just so like if it does happen, and I'm like, no way, I get something positive with it.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't gamble.
True.
So.
We'll talk about the cup final in a minute, but I mean, one thing that is going for United is they might just have a back four. That's something. That's a plus.
That's actually a back four.
That's actually square pegs in square pegs in square holes. And
though for City, it's the chance to be the first team to do the double.
Yeah.
In successive seasons. So
I've seen some pictures of Rodri and Jack Grealish looking a bit worse for wear in the celebration. So we can only hope that they've just Grealish has kidnapped Rodri and taken him on a beer tour around Europe.
Rodri will be fine. Rodri could turn up half pissed and probably still run the game. I just feel like he's that type of player. And Grealish probably won't play anyway. They'll just put him in the bench if he's celebrating too hard.
Grealish probably won't even find Wembley. He'll be too pissed.
Yeah, I mean it's weird because we're going into a cup final, and I want us to win. But even if we do win, it's going to be a weird feeling because I'll be happy sort of in the moment, but it's not going to magically mean that we've had a good season or that we're a good team. I know it's a really sort of an entitled thing to say, but.
Yeah, I sort of know what you mean. I'd just be happy you won something, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's not to do down the FA.
It would just be typical Man United to have the worst season ever. Somehow, even after finishing below Newcastle, somehow still knock them out of Europe and get in and have a trophy at the end of the season as well, which is actually better than the one that they won last year. I mean, when you look at it that way, it's kind of like the Man United thing to do. So you just never know.
Think Ten Hag might be a bit fearful because the last time a Dutch manager won us the FA Cup, he got sacked during his press conference. So
I don't think it's going to matter for Ten Hag anyway.
I think he's going to get sacked before because Manuel won Poch.
They won't sack him before the cup final. Get away. But I don't think they'll keep him.
Yeah. So we think City are going to win the FA Cup final. Who's going to win out of Leeds and Southampton then in the playoff final?
I think Leeds probably.
Leeds.
We do look stronger.
Yeah, I would agree. That would be my favourite outcome as well. I think
we both put in good performances in the semi-finals, though. So who knows? But
yeah, and they can both play some. Southampton play some decent football, but I don't know. Leeds have got Daniel Farke in. They're just that bit stodgier, aren't they?
I think they've got a better depth in them as well.
Yeah,
I've watched them quite a bit this season, Leeds, and they always seem to pull it out of the bag, even come towards the end of games.
So
I think I've got more of them.
Right. So we won't do full predictions because it's only 2 games. But yeah, so City and Leeds, then we reckon.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Do you not have any optimism towards United winning?
I just, even if we win, it's gonna be a grim 2 hours. I think. Like I said, we've found a way of sort of having some semblance of presence in midfield the last few games, and hopefully we're gonna have Martinez played against Brighton and had a really good game. Højlund's bagged a couple of goals recently and taken them really well. If we can get Varane back to go next to Martinez and magic sponge Luke Shaw up, we might have half a chance, but it will be a smash and grab if we do. I'll still be watching it. I'll go around my dad's to watch it, so it'll be enjoyable and we can have a right mind together.
I'll be driving down to Southampton, funny enough.
Yeah.
So I miss it.
Did you see that troll account posting exclusive? Sean Longstaff has capital letters not been included in the provisional England squad. Obviously taking the piss because most Newcastle fans don't rate him.
Was he not good at the start of the season though? I thought it was. Has he fallen off a cliff? Because I thought he'd been playing well at some point this season.
Who, Trippier? He's
Longstaff.
Longstaff. He's been poor. He's been poor the last few months. Obviously, he scored 2 goals in 2 games, but I think he's been carrying a niggle.
How many has he missed that were sitters?
Unbelievable!
In the same 2 games, it's actually
against Man U. Against Man U, he should have scored 2.
And he normally likes a goal against us as well.
Yeah, he missed that one-on-one and a free header. But he's been carrying an injury as far as I'm concerned, and we've been reluctant to drop him because of our injury crisis, and we've had no one else to put in. And I think he's been playing through the pain.
Yeah, I think he plays through the pain for us. I think he gives 100%. I just don't think he's quite at the quality level. You know, his passing's not crisp enough. There's too many slack passes, too many times he gets caught not making a decision quick enough, and he gets caught and get the ball took off him.
That's been happening quite a lot since February.
But I think he's a Premier League level player. But I'm just, for where Newcastle want to be, I think he's nowhere near what Tonali is. You know, to be honest. Once he gets established,
I wouldn't be upset if we cashed in on him.
He's going to be one of those pure profit signings that everyone's going to try and sell, isn't he? So
I don't think you get that.
What do you reckon? Is it what, 30 million, 40 million?
You said that, Dave's like, don't talk about
don't say those words.
We'll get onto that in a minute, definitely.
I would have said probably about 25, 30 million.
20, yeah.
I don't think he's worth.
How old is he now? What is he, like 25?
26.
I'll look it up, man.
Oh, he's too old for that, man.
Yeah, no one's going to spend big money on him.
No, not on a 26-year-old.
That's why we couldn't get rid of McTominay last year.
26, yeah. So, he's probably at the peak of his career.
Forrest might take.
There is also
25, but...
Listen, I don't think we'll sell him. Because I think
that'll be fine. Keep him as a squad player.
Yeah, I think we'll keep him as squad player, and if need be, if he needs surgery or something like that, the fact that Tonali's back will allow him to kind of get that and maybe get some recovery time. I think you'll probably hear him going in for an operation in the summer, but who knows? I mean,
it'll probably be after this Australian tour. Get back and he'll go for his surgery. So that's what I think he needs.
I don't think they would play him in the Australian tour if they wanted to get him out quick, because it doesn't mean anything. It's not as if they have to win the game.
Yeah, but he's gone for it.
No one's buying tickets to go see Sean Longstaff, are they?
No.
Apart from his parents.
He's still over there. He's went with the team.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. After the Australian tour, they'll just get him.
It might just be he doesn't need surgery after all, and he's just been shit.
Probably.
But I don't want to slate him too hard, because I think last season he was very, very good for us.
He was at the beginning of the season.
He deserved from some of the fans. He kind of got back to, this guy looks like a player again. But I think he was overachieving slightly, and I think this season is more, that's where his level is.
At the beginning of the season, he'd done brilliant, but it's like since Christmas he's been.
One other thing going for him, and it's not as big a problem at Newcastle, because I think most of the squad are like this, but he'll always put a shift in even if it's not coming off for him. Like, he's not gonna.
Yeah.
He's not gonna walk around the pitch sulking.
Yeah. Well, I see he's got a good mentality. Yeah. Apart from he does, when he gets not fouled, he falls down and moans a little bit. He's a bit like Fernandez, like that, or something like that. But with the fact that he did get hit in the first place, like sometimes you're just like, fucking get up, Sean. Fucking embarrassing me.
Yeah, and he doesn't run after the referee screaming in his face.
But Bruno's the captain, he's allowed to do that.
He was doing it before he got the captain's armband.
That's why he got it.
That's how I was going to say that.
So moving on, there's a bit of a managerial merry-go-round going on this summer, and there's one more name been added to that, because the news has broken in the last hour or two that Mauricio Pochettino is leaving Chelsea at the end of the season, which seems an odd one given the recent run.
How we ended.
Yeah. And just the wider context anyway, because even when they weren't getting the results, you could see what they were trying to do. It just wasn't quite coming off. Like, Jackson was not putting away the chances, or there was the odd individual error in defence, but it wasn't an issue with the way they were playing as such.
It sort of was. We weren't set up structurally. We weren't that disciplined. Like, it was only until the last 5 games of the season when we did set up with that Cucurella sitting in the midfield. That's the only time where we felt like we actually had a bit of structure to us.
Yeah.
So we weren't caught in those kind of vulnerable moments at the back. earlier in the season, it felt like we could always be got at the back.
Yeah, it just feels like a waste because you sacked Potter after what 6 months.
Yeah,
and he was supposed to be a project manager.
He was
with this young squad. Pochettino is like the original project manager in the Premier League, really, for what he did at Southampton and Spurs. And you know he's left after a year, and you still got this young squad. I don't really know where you go.
Like you can see how much the squad love him. So that's probably the bit that disappoints me the most. Is I don't think Poch is great tactically, but I think he's great man manager with younger players. So
and,
he's probably
and improving players because I think
exactly.
Nicholas Jackson is a much better player than he was at the start of the season.
Yeah. I mean, you can see how well he's done since he got back from a Cup of Nations, but he didn't even play there.
Yeah, Palmer, I think,
he's just been good all year round.
Yeah, no, but he's gone from being like a surprise package to the main man.
The main man, I think, that's difficult.
You know, I think that takes some bravery in a manager to sort of let him do that. You know, a bit like you can see sort of parallels when he bought Dele Alli, who was you know even lower in terms of experience. He very quickly became the key man, and Pochettino was quite instrumental in encouraging that out of him. And I think that's what he's done with Palmer.
Yeah, I think people forget how good Dele Alli was as well. He was incredible during that couple of seasons.
Pocher's proven that he is a top manager. He proved it at Spurs. He got Spurs to the Champions League final.
Yeah.
So I mean, he proves he can do it.
And they sacked him for having a bad season, and they've never really been back at that level since.
But even more than that, they sacked him for having a bad season when he got them to a Champions League final, and then they literally didn't sign a player.
Yeah.
And then they wondered why they
weren't doing well. Yeah.
Right.
When he was at PSG, he was at PSG at probably the worst time to be at PSG when they had.
Yeah.
He had a lot of big name players there as well.
Too many
he's all about
he's
all about teamwork and synergy and more than some of the parts, and then he's got like the three laziest forwards in terms of off the ball work.
Yeah, Neymar, Messi, and
might be on the ball. Yeah,
I think Chelsea it's another business decision by the Chelsea owners. If we were having this conversation at Christmas and we'd said, do we think, they could maybe get rid of Pochettino, we'd probably say yes, but it's like they almost don't
change.
But even then it would be like
change in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And like that momentum can carry into the next season with the same manager and the same players. You add a few nuggets here and there, suddenly that's a team, and you realistically, you finish 6th.
With all the injuries that we've had.
Back in the Champions League.
It's an amazing
resources. Why not?
Yeah, I think 6th is a brilliant finish from the first half of the season where you were last summer. Even if he had been sacked at Christmas when it was looking like another mid-table finish, I still think that would have been what's the point of getting him in if you're only going to give him 6 months? You
just want stability sometimes, and when you look at people like Klopp and Pep, you think.
I tend towards wanting to give managers more time, and that the idea that managers are only as good as their last bad run sort of grates with me a little bit, because it's sort of what's got us into the place we are now, where lots of big clubs want managers, but there's no clear candidates because everyone's reputation has been sullied a bit because they've been sacked after a bad run of games, and everyone,
I think it's just the way fans are just now. Like I've heard quite a lot of Newcastle fans when amazing as it is to hear, when we were having a bit of a bad run mid-season, and we all know why we were having a bad run. We were playing so many games and we had no players. We were playing a 16-year-old every single game for 80 minutes. I mean, the manager was doing the best he can and still picking up decent enough results that we weren't absolutely awful, and yet people were getting how's not, it's time for how to leave, and they just honestly lose a game, any game, and it's like you can target the players and say they didn't play well, but it's always the fans always have a go at the manager. Whenever something goes wrong, that was the manager's fault. They made a bad call.
But
I'm looking at Eddie Howe thinking that's our best manager that I think I've seen in our lifetime, because I think he's a better manager than Kevin Keegan. So why would we want to get rid of him?
He's not. I don't think he's going to be better. He's better than Bobby Robson, but
well,
on top of that, though,
Bobby came to us in a certain stage of his career, though, and he couldn't remember even what day of the week it was and stuff by the end.
On top of that, though, the top half of the Premier League is ridiculously stacked at the minute in terms of teams who can spend, teams who are trying to get into Europe, and it doesn't take that bad a season to drop down a bit. And now, obviously, United have finished eighth, and we have been absolute shit this season. We've been awful this season, but it doesn't take much to sort of drop a couple of places.
Definitely not.
So, like the way it is now, that kind of top eight, those top eight teams now in the Premier League are all very rich teams with rich owners. We have big fan base.
Yeah. So I don't think. I don't think a sixth or a seventh for a club the size of Chelsea or Newcastle or even United it's a disappointing season, but it's not the disaster that it would have been 5 years ago.
No.
You're right. Yeah, I agree.
So
I think our club
that's where it's sort of frustrating, and I think
because of where we came from, whereas your fans look at it differently because of where they came from. It's like polar opposites.
Yeah,
but they shouldn't, because if you're not good enough.
But equally, like you've been saying, when you guys had all your injuries, and we've had a lot of injuries this season as well, but when you guys had all your injuries, your team was still putting in performances that you could be proud of. Mm-hmm. Whereas United, we were only a couple of injuries away from a crisis, and the performances were really sort of worrying for a lot of that period.
Especially with performances against teams that you should be beating. You always seem to step it up for teams in and around you. Decent enough results against them.
I mean,
but the teams that are low in the league seem to just
smaller teams overcoming long losing records at Old Trafford is not a new thing. That's been happening now for 5 years or so. But things like the games against Fulham, getting played off the park by Bournemouth twice, that sort of thing, and Palace game, that that's the worrying aspect of United. And what I'd also say is, you look at, say, Arsenal and City, and both of them are basically, they've got 4 centre backs as their back four now. They've turned centre backs into full backs and built the whole team around that style. Whereas if we get Luke Shaw injured and we've got Victor Lindelof there, it's panic stations, and that's the difference. Like we couldn't. We've had Casemiro playing at centre back, and it's been an absolute disaster. Whereas
we've had a right back playing centre back.
Exactly, other clubs are making that work, and that's where I think United have fallen down. Is that the injury crises is we haven't really found a way around that. That's why we've been so bad this season.
For the last freaking 18 months.
Today on the radio, I was listening to Talk Sport. I don't know why. I think it was because I was ill and I just couldn't do much else. So, and Ashley Young was on, and they were asking lots of questions. And obviously, he came from a successful era at Manchester United, and he's still in a WhatsApp group with loads of ex-Man United players. And they're absolutely, he says all season that group's blowing up. What are these players doing? You know what I mean? He says, like, from what they can gather, it just isn't that will to, we will do anything for this club. We play for Man United that they all had in their day. Like, you want me to play left back? I'll play left back. I'll play anywhere for you, Sir Alex.
I mean,
that's just not there.
Yeah, but the thing is, Sir Alex was there, and he would be getting in arguments with Jaap Stam or Roy Keane or David Beckham, and he'd be binning them at the club. Whereas the players now know that they just need to sit it out for 18 months, and the manager will be gone, and there'll be the new one who'll be going, oh, well, I can bring this guy back in from the cold, and that'll give me a spark, and it just repeats. There's no.
I think that's happened with you guys a lot over the last few years, and it's allowed some players that Ferguson would have get rid of for having the wrong attitude to still hang about and collect those wages.
But I mean, even then, Ashley Young trying to say that he was, it wasn't like that in my day. Ashley Young was sort of part of the decline. We signed him in 2012. We signed him in 2012. He put in some good performances. I will forever remember watching him absolutely tear Arsenal apart at Old Trafford when we beat them 8-2. But he was part of that trend of really underwhelming signings at the end of Fergie's time. And he was
still
at
won
the
a
club
title.
quite far into the post-Fergie.
Got a tune at him.
Yeah.
But he says,
but he was also at the club quite far
like
into the post-Fergie disappointing era. You know, he only left in like 2016. Actually, no, I think
we worked under Moyes and Van Gaal, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he might have been later. I think we might have had him for a little bit while Ollie was at club. That's how.
What year was it when the bird shit in his mouth?
I think that was still under Fergie's watch, but you know that
was Fergie. Yeah. Just one of those classic videos that will live forever in there.
You'll have to get it for Kyle because Kyle's looking really puzzled.
Yeah, Kyle's like, what's going on here? No, there is a video out there. Ashley Young, an ex-player, he's not playing anymore. He's on the football field, and obviously the camera's on him. And his mouth's just in such a way. This bird must have been up in the sky and shot, and it landed right in his mouth. And you literally, it was on camera, and it's like landed. It was horrible, but it was like almost like he ate it as well because he didn't know what was going on. So there you go.
Yeah, it was funny. He still to this day tries to deny that it went in his mouth.
I mean, if we were wearing white shirts that day, we might have got away with it, but it was a red one.
It was red, yeah.
Yeah, it was red. So unless it landed like perfectly in line with the Nike logo. Carl's just watched the video.
Carl's phone is.
It's on his lip. Oh my god, you can see it like oh my
It's a classic, isn't it? Imagine getting remembered forever for that.
Yeah.
For millions of people. Nothing he could do about it, I guess. A bird shot in my eye once when I was riding a bike when I was a kid. It's a true story. So
is that why you support Newcastle now, is it?
I was riding a bike.
Was it a magpie?
Was it house. I have no idea. I was riding a bike down to my friend's house, which was a bit further away, so it was like maybe a mile or something like that. I was riding my bike, sunny day, and just this bird shot right in my eye, and it went like right into my eye, and it was all stingy and got all infected and everything. And I ended up having to just go home because my eye was like stinging.
Almost everyone's been shit on by a bird. It happened to me the other day. But in the mouth or in the eye, that would suck. But in the mouth,
it's unusual. Man. It's unusual. Yeah, normally it's like, but it's just your luck where it lands.
I mean, the follow-up video for Carl to look up is Gary Lineker taking a shit on the pitch, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wipe his ass.
Yeah.
That was long ago.
I think Kyle's left the room. He's done.
Yeah. Right. So moving on. Moving on. So predictions. We obviously predicted the weekend's results. We also, back before this podcast was even a twinkle in Cam's eye, we did, as we normally do as a group, predict how we thought the season was going to go. So Kyle, if you want to bring up our little graphic with the predictions, the first one should be the top half of the table where we've all sort of got Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, and all that sort of thing.
Sent them in order.
Yeah, so we predicted how we think the table is going to finish, and I don't know about you guys, but I get to a certain point and then I forget Palace exist, and then I put them in 12.
Yeah.
We always do that. Every year you'll get like to 19 and then you'll go, I've missed someone, and then where am I going to put them? Just to go in the middle somewhere.
I normally focus on who's going to get Europe, who's going down, and then who's left. But anyway,
just put me around the one.
Yeah, I mean, I may as well, because so in terms of what we got, so we've got the top half of the table, and three of us went City. I think Arsenal for Cam, decent enough shout, and I think that's probably what we're all
we did well
for.
Finished well last year, didn't we? So...
What I would say as well is, apart from Cam, we all went Villa top 6, which is an old in-joke of our group, but it was pleasing to see that come off.
Yeah, finally.
Everyone's Villa top.
Taken 10 years.
Top 6.
So then the other interesting thing I think from the top half is our picks for 10th place. So Cam went for Brentford, Dave went for West Ham, Mick also went for Brentford, and for some godforsaken reason I went for Burnley. So I think I got that the most wrong. But other than that, we all picked basically the same teams for the top 8, just in different orders. And then if we go on to
how predictable it can be.
Kind of the big 8 now.
Well, you say that, Dave, but I'm going to tell you the scores in a minute. So And then if you move on to the second image, Carl, with the bottom half of the table, I've got to say my Burnley 10th place doesn't look too bad because we've got Dave and Mick have them quite high up the table, and Cam actually.
Yeah, I've got
I thought they would have
given
given a bit more, but
I mean,
they did not get the points record in the Championship last year, so
yeah. I mean, they massively disappointed this season. I think we can agree. Bournemouth, we all had 15th, and that's an interesting one, and I think that is definitely I filled in all the places and I've missed off the team.
Yeah,
Bournemouth is the most likely team. Bournemouth is the most likely team to forget that they're in the league, I think, but they finished 12th in the end.
I remember actually being Bournemouth, the one that I forgot was there. So I just went,
it has to be, yeah. Three of us had Everton. Three of us had Everton in a decent position. Mick had, wishful thinking, wanting Everton to go down.
I think that was wishful thinking.
Nearly.
We all had Luton bottom.
Was it really?
Yeah, we all
had Sheffield United bottom.
No, Mick had Sheffield United bottom. Cam had Sheffield United to stay up instead of Forest. And the other thing is we all had Wolves struggling more than they did as well.
Yeah, I think they just sacked the manager at that point.
Because
they
just sacked the manager. They'd sold all the best. They never sacked the manager. The manager left because he's like, you're not giving me any money to buy new players, and you've sold all my best players.
And it was a week before the season.
Gary O'Neill did a great
How
job
silly does he look now?
Yeah. Well, he's going to West Ham in the summer, isn't he, Lopetegui? So, yeah, and he turned down Bayern to do it. But anyway, so the scores. So out of a possible 20 correct points, 20 correct points, we have Cam got one place correct. That was Liverpool in third. We have got myself. I got 3 correct. So I got City winning the league. I got who else did I think I got Newcastle 7th, and I can't remember who the other one. It was possibly Fulham or Forest. No, it was Forest in 17th. We have Mick on 4, who got City and Liverpool right. He also got
Fulham and Sheffield United.
But Dave got the table most spot on. He got 5 points. So he got the top 3 in the right order. He also got
Fulham
and Forest. Okay. So that leads us to a sort of total for this Tottenham Up purpose of Cam on 16, me on 12, Dave on 19, Mick on 19. Jeopardy. But what we also did was we predicted who was going to win the sort of awards at the end of the season, and there were a few factual awards that were going to go off the official ones, and then a few subjective ones that we were going to have a debate over. So Kyle, if you can bring up the last image. So we've got who's going to win the Golden Boot, and we all went Erling Haaland, and that happened,
and we all got it right.
Yeah.
It looked close for a bit.
Who was going to get the most assists? And I think we went with very good shouts. Cam and Mick. Cam went Odegaard, Dave and Mick went Kevin De Bruyne, and I went Bruno Fernandes. Now,
if De Bruyne didn't get injured,
if he was fit over the course of the season, De Bruyne probably would have got it.
When is he ever fit for the whole season, though?
Bruno,
get that, Mick.
If our strikers could finish, Bruno would have won it by a country mile. Because he creates the most chances in the league. Yeah. Odegaard, I think, is a decent shout, but I think it's more of a team effort at Arsenal. There's no wrong sort of fulcrum there. But the person who actually won that was Ollie Watkins for Villa. So he scored a lot of goals, but he also had a lot of sweaty cutbacks for Leon Bailey and Diaby and all that, didn't he? So
sweaty cutbacks.
I think actually, I can't picture an Ollie Watkins assist, but I imagine that's how it went down.
Yeah, striker's assist, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, there wasn't many crosses. I think it was cutbacks a lot. Yeah.
We also had. So we also predicted who was going to win the Golden Glove. That is the most clean sheets, the goalkeeper with the most clean sheets in the league. So Cam and Dave went Edison, fair shout. Myself and Mick went Nick Pope. Now, unfortunately, Nick Pope missed half the season.
And I'm telling you now, he probably would have got that because he had it in the bag before he got injured.
What the fuck? You never had a back four all season.
Yeah, I don't know about defence. Would he have just suddenly saved all
but
those
before he got injured, we had conceded the least amount of goals.
Yeah, in the Premier League. After that, we started losing more players as well. He was just one of several that fell. I don't care.
Shut your fucking mouth. He would have won it. He would have won it.
So the outcome of that was David Raya at Arsenal got the most clean sheets because he was the goalkeeper in the defence who conceded the least goals in the season. It's funny how that worked.
And had some of the least amount of injuries as well.
Yeah.
It still didn't win the league.
You know, he got the most clean sheets. I can't think of a single save he made all season because...
Mick, if they'd only beat us that game at St James's Park, remember that game that we beat them 1-0 and they all moaned it, and it was kind of one of the first ones we did.
It was such a good game that we decided to make a whole podcast about it, didn't we?
Yeah, pretty much. It was the one.
And a new rivalry was born from it as well.
If that goal never got allowed, Arsenal, you would have got one extra point. You still would have lost the league.
What Mikel Arteta says that they were denied 3 points for that game. It's a strange one because they didn't have a single shot on target. So I don't know.
I can't remember a single thing Arsenal did.
They had one shot on target, and there was a freaking daisy cutter straight into Pope's gardens.
From Martin the golden glove for that then.
Interesting. Bit of karma there, Arsenal fans. Maybe if you hadn't moaned about nothing for 6 months straight after it, it wouldn't have worked out bad for you. But realistically, I mean, there was the double games against Villa and West Ham or something. Who is it? They lost a couple of games they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Against worse teams than us.
Yeah. Right, and then so we got Player of the Year, and we're going to go off the official Premier League Player of the Year on this one. So Cam again went for Martin Odegaard. Dave and Mick went for Erling Haaland, and I went for Kevin De Bruyne.
Which is weird because he never went for him for assists. So what was De Bruyne doing all season for you?
just being the best midfielder in the league. You know, he doesn't need an assist. He does the pass before the assist. You know, the whole
hockey assist.
The assist of the assist.
Yeah. But you know, he missed half the season, so that was never going to happen. And Phil Foden ably stepped into his place and won Player of the Season. I don't think anyone can really argue with that because Rodri.
Rodri wasn't nominated.
Rodri would be the only one. The fact Rodri wasn't nominated is just silly.
I mean, like as I said in the chat,
I would have given it to Foden.
Yeah, if it was if it was us lot voting on it, I think Rodri would have.
I think, I mean, like I said,
I would have given it to Foden. Foden was the best player against us this season that I've seen as an individual performance. When we played them early in the season,
player of the season, not player against Newcastle, Cam.
I know,
but if you can beat Newcastle,
he's
then
been doing it.
True,
I wonder he didn't just do it against us. He scored so many vital goals, early goals in games, in the Champions League as well.
I agree with you. He's gone up a level this season. He's gone from being this exciting kid to taking the responsibility on himself. I just think with Rodri, he's gone more than a year unbeaten now in terms of games that he's played in. But not only that, but the games that Rodri's missed this season, City have lost all of them.
And they just look.
And I don't think there is any. You can't. It's really hard to compare positions, but I don't think there's any better barometer for who's the best player than that. Like I said in the chat at the time, the thing that's disqualifying Rodri from Player of the Season is the fact that you can't conceivably call him a forward. That's the only thing.
Yeah, it's true.
If he was as good a striker as he is a defensive midfielder, it wouldn't even be a discussion. I don't think.
And he still pops up with the odd goal.
Oh, well, exactly. He won in the Champions League last season, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does score quite a lot of goals, and usually they do take that into account. I mean, I remember when John Terry won it, he'd scored that many goals rather than his defensive performances. I think
like Garth Crooks' team of the week.
He scored about 19 headers.
Don't get me started on him.
He'll only ever pick a defender if they've scored a goal.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. They could have conceded 5 and scored a goal. Yeah. Or 2, and he'll.
I think genuinely,
he'll either pick a.
I think he's got an IQ like 45 or something like that.
He'll either pick a defender just because they scored a goal, or he'll pick a player because his opposite number for the other team had such a shit game that he's got to write about it and have a go at that guy.
That's true.
So it's like I've picked Sean Longstaff today because Scott McTominay was absolutely rubbish, and it's like,
yeah.
But we won't dwell on that.
It's not worth reading. It's not worth reading.
So the final sort of, objective one, we've got a finite answer for is Young Player of the Year. And I think we've all had a moan about the selection criteria on this, because I think the age limit is 23 at the start of the season, which just seems ridiculously high. And then half of the players nominated are quite established players, either in the league or in general. So Cam went for Haaland, which is just ridiculous. I know he's only 22, but it's ridiculous that he can be up for a Young Player of the Year award for me.
Yeah.
Dave went for
I think I remember putting it as a kind of protest because I felt he shouldn't be winning it, but I would put it in anyway because I thought it would happen.
Yeah, so Dave went for Bukayo Saka.
Another one that shouldn't be in there.
No, he's still young enough.
He's established.
He still looks like a kid. He's fine. I went for Alejandro Garnacho, who
that's
is
right.
still a teenager.
I want.
and do you know what?
He's been great.
He had a decent season.
Yeah,
scored the goal.
And he scored the goal of the season.
And he scored the goal of the season. Yeah, absolutely. And Mick went for a really weird one, Cody Gakpo at Liverpool, who I think is too old, and B is absolute rubbish.
He had a shocker of a year.
He's had a shit season. I was expecting a lot more from him this season. He is young.
Where you were coming from with that, but you never thought if he'd been sitting there and Cody Liverpool had won the league and Gakpo was player of the season, Mick could have been sitting there shaking his fingers at us all.
So I think we all got caught off guard by this one, because I don't think any of us expected Chelsea to sign Cole Palmer at the end of the window.
No, I think we only did it because we didn't get Elise as well. So
and certainly nobody expected Cole Palmer to be that bloody good. But
I'm a bit miffed that Gordon didn't get nominated.
And he is a young player.
Gordon should have been nominated.
But I think
I don't know why Gordon wasn't nominated, but I think Palmer won it. And would have won it anyway.
That's fine.
I think spiritually, Palmer winning it is the sort of player that award should go to. I know Gordon is still
I agree.
Relatively young, but he has had a couple of seasons.
Gordon's still young as well. A couple of seasons in the Premier League with Everton as a kid. But you've got to remember, last summer he was playing in the under-21s Euros.
Yeah,
which he won.
True.
We played in the tournament. He's still a kid.
It has been a breakout year for Gordon. It has been a breakout year for Gordon as well, in terms of he's a proper player now. He looked like he had potential at Everton. It looked like it could be an interesting one, but he looks like a proper player now, and I think Gordon probably ran Palmer close on that. But I just think Palmer has just come really from nowhere.
But he didn't get nominated.
We probably don't have time to talk about the
wasn't even in the nominations.
Who wasn't in the nominations? Or Gordon? It's a strange one that I don't get it, and yet everybody's talking about how he was Newcastle's best player of the season. He won best player of the season, and he's been picked for England ahead of some other players. And probably don't have time to talk about the England team. We could do that another week.
No, which one? We'll do that before the Euros. So the last thing to do, and we'll make this quick, is we've got best signing and worst signing. And these are subjective because obviously there's no awards handed out for this. And we had quite a bit of a debate about the criteria for it, but I just want you to go with the first name that pops into your head. Cam, you went for McAllister as best signing, Alexis McAllister as best signing.
That's probably the best shout of all of those.
And you went for Rasmus Højlund as worst signing. Who have you got for best signing and worst signing now at the end of this season? Come on, we're nearly an hour here, Cam. Come on.
Sorry, I can't think of worst signing. Who did I say the other day there? Mason Mount is my pick for worst signing of the season because of the price, and he's just hardly ever played. And unless we include Tonali, who got banned for a season, but we decided we weren't going to really go down that way. I don't know about best. I can't remember what we talked about. I've forgotten. Sorry.
Well, who do you think?
Best is easy, I think.
Yeah,
the best is easy for me.
Who are you saying? Just my brain's not yours. Give me a name.
Okay, fine. Right, Dave, you went for
you
went for Andrea Onana and as the best signing, and you went for Rasmus Højlund as the worst signing. And I think from a United fan's perspective, I would probably flip those around just from a club perspective. But who have you got now?
Best signing, Cole Palmer, I think.
That's not what I was going for. It's the clear choice at all, but fine. Yeah.
Best signing.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got him for fairly
versus
cheap,
what
but
he
he's got the
achieved.
most goal. He's got the most goal
World class.
contributions. He's basically took us from relegation to Europe. So, worst sign. I don't know. It's so hard. We've discussed it because there's so many people you can choose from. Mainly because they've all been injured. You've had so many big money signings like Lavia at Chelsea. Haven't seen him. 50 million. Who else have we had?
Nkunku as well.
Nkunku.
Although
But he was last year. We bought him last year. Højlund, I did choose. He's not done as well as, I don't know. I put it all down to
I think he's done
crap.
I think
there's
Højlund's
something
done
there.
exactly as well as could be expected.
I think Mount's been a bigger disappointment than he has, but again, that's purely been down to injuries as well. But when he's been playing, he's been useless. So.
Right.
Sorry, I'm cool. I don't think it is just injuries for Mount.
No, he wasn't. He hasn't been
played.
effective when he has played, and he was a big part at the start of the season when he was fit. He was a big part of how open our midfield was as well, and how exposed Casemiro was getting. So I would tend to agree on that. Mick, you went for Harvey Barnes as best signing and Kai Havertz as the worst signing. Who have you got now?
Best signing, I'd probably say Declan Rice.
He's
been outstanding for Arsenal.
He has been a missing piece.
Yeah. And I know I said Harvey Barnes, and he could have done well if he hadn't got that long injury and everything. And he has looked good when he's played, but it's got to be someone like Declan Rice. Worst signing. I would say Tonali because of the ban, but I'm gonna have to go with the lads and say Mason Mount.
Okay. And I went for Andre Onana as best signing as well. And I went for Kai Havertz as worst signing. And I think, we want to say Kai Havertz has had a brilliant season at Arsenal.
He had a shaky few months until Arteta kind of shifted him more forwards.
He wasn't scoring, but he just looked. I think he's always looked at home at Arsenal.
He looked hungrier,
even if he wasn't
hungrier than certainly that at Arsenal.
He looks a different player.
Certainly, his form wasn't there at the start of the season, but the more he played, his form came. So.
Andre Onana, he's had sort of a season's two halves. He was awful at the first half of the season, and he is, as much as you can pinpoint on one player as not going through the Champions League, Onana has to be that guy because he was literally chucking the ball in the net a couple of games when we were in winning positions. However, he has been quite good. He has been quite good the second half of the season, I feel. And if he had a proper back four in front of him, I think we'd see a bit more of him. My best signing, I agree with Mick. It's got to be Declan Rice because he's just taken Arsenal to another level. Worst season, and I got some flack for this, but I think it's James Trafford at Burnley because
he's been
he's been awful. He came off the back of a really successful youth tournament for England. He got signed for £15 million, even though he'd never played a game for City. And the amount of errors that he made playing out from the back, just saves that he didn't make. But not only that, but Burnley looked absolutely dead and buried until about 2 months from the end of the season when Company finally dropped him for Muric. And although Muric had a few clangers himself, they immediately looked more solid and they started picking up results and it looked like they might stay up. So for me, because he's played most of the season and been really bad and came with quite a big reputation, I think it's got to be James Trafford.
I give me against that just to let folk know was that he only cost 15 million and that for it to be worst signing of the season, some of us felt you needed to have a higher price tag. But it's a fair point. You can, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that Mason Mount's been really disappointing so far, even aside from the injuries. But I think that is basically us. So what we're going to do now the season's over is Mick and Dave are going on their holidays next week, so we're not going to have an episode next week. We've got the Euros coming up in a few weeks, but what we're going to try and do before then is we're going to have a couple of episodes with a bit more of a detailed review of our clubs and what needs to be fixed. So I think Dave and I are going to sort of split an episode between us for Chelsea and Man United, and then we're going to let Mick and Cam talk everything Newcastle for another episode. And then that should take us through to the Euros, and I think we're going to keep going all the way through the Euros to report on stuff then.
Congratulations to Mick for winning our little league.
Yes,
well
that's
done,
a point.
Mick.
Yeah. So we all got one point in those player predictions, which means that the final standings are: I brought up the rear on 104 points, and I'm quite happy to have broken through the 100-point barrier, to be honest.
That was thanks to Louise as well.
Cam, it is, because she had 2 quite high scoring weeks for me. Cam was next up on 119 points, following his performance, and then it's a decent gap, and it was close at the end, but in a bit like the real life title race, it sort of stayed to form. Dave on 125 points at the end, and Mick on 127. So we are looking forward to doing a full season of that.
I was just mentioning Kyle ended up positive as well. Kyle ended up in 5 points or 7 points.
Well done, Kyle. And I think we're going to get Kyle involved from the start next season, I think.
Yeah, probably join in on that.
Yeah.
But anyway, the only other thing left to say is to thank you to everyone who's been watching. Make sure you give us a like and a subscribe. Comment on how your team went during the season, what you want to see from us next season, and enjoy your bank holiday in the cup final this weekend. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.